Hi, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living, and I do it out of a vintage Airstream trailer that I turned into a workshop. So there's the workshop. It's a 1981 Airstream Sovereign. It's right next to my house, as you can see. So my commute's not too bad. 31 feet, and it was a regular trailer when I got it, and I've turned it into something quite different. And here we are. 31 feet is the trailer length, by the way. Probably similar to my commute distance though. So we're looking aft. There is the front door, and I will walk aft and look forward. And I'll just give you like a general rundown. I guess this first video will be about the Airstream itself and the things I did to get it ready to be a saxophone repair shop. So I stripped everything out. I disabled the 12-volt electrical system. You can see like a little light up there. That's a 12-volt switch, at least I think. I've actually never even tried to turn it on. I should go turn it on. Let's see if it works. No, you know what? It won't, because I took out the inverter. There used to be, or maybe there still is, like that's the battery box there for a 12-volt battery, and there was a big inverter next to it, and just sat there humming all day long. So I didn't do anything. I just took it out and just run everything off of house current. So I stripped everything out, and the floor is, so underneath this floor is the subfloor, and that's actually the real floor of the Airstream. So when I stripped everything out, there was some leaks in a few places. I had to fix those. I had to replace the subfloor back here, basically like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet of subfloor underneath here is 5/8" plywood, and I had to rip out the old stuff and put in some new because there was a leak back here, which I guess is somewhat common for these old Airstreams to have leaks. So that was like kind of job one. And then what I decided to do for the floor was I wanted something that was really durable. And Airstreams are, you know, a little bit bendy. They're on like a big old like steel box frame. But you know, they're still like a little bit bendy, and I wanted to have the floor feel really solid. When you step on 5/8" plywood, you can feel it bend a little bit. I didn't want that feeling. I didn't want people to come in here and feel like they were in something flimsy, and I didn't want to feel like that while I was sitting here. So I got, actually the table is made out of some scraps, so we can see how thick it is. It's inch thick, really old pine that came out of a beam from a barn. So it was some reclaimed wood. It was a huge beam, and back before reclaimed wood was like, you know, super popular, I was able to get this milled to be an inch thick, a foot wide, and it was like $2 a board foot, something ridiculous. And the reason I got reclaimed wood is because I knew that this place was going to be like, you know, subject to temperature changes. I'm not heating it and cooling it the entire time, only when I'm in it. So at night it gets cold in here. If it's summer, it gets hot in here. And you know, you can see here, I screwed this wood. That's probably the dirtiest possible spot in the whole Airstream to show you. You can see like I screwed it down right into the subfloor, and if any of this stuff started bending, do you like my slippers, my duck boot slippers? If any of this stuff started bending or warping, it was going to turn this Airstream into a potato chip. So I wanted stuff that had already been outdoors for a long time and was probably pretty stable. And 8 years in, well, seems like that was a good choice. This stuff has had zero problem. Not a single thing has pulled up. I haven't had to tighten a single screw on the floor, and it feels really solid to walk on. And I didn't stain it or anything. I just let it age. It was a lot brighter when I got it. You can see where I walk, it's dark. That's kind of the thing I was going for. I mean, usually it's a little cleaner, but I've got my wrist broken right now, so I haven't vacuumed it before doing this video. And yeah, so that really, really worked out. The ends I did sideways. The rest of it I did lengthwise. Doing the ends because of that curve was a lot easier. And yeah, so once I had that done, you know, I stripped out the interior, I painted the walls, so I stripped it all the way down, cleaned it, got all the mold and mildew out of here, primed it a bunch, and then painted this like orange color because I wanted it to be bright in here. And when I first did it, it felt a little weird, especially without anything on the wall, but it ended up working out pretty well. The only problem is during the summer when I've got windows open, It seems like pollinating insects think this is a flower. So I get a lot of like bees and wasps and stuff flying through here. You also notice that my lighting solution is just plugged into the wall here. Getting behind these panels, you can see the rivets, is kind of a pain in the ass. And there's like, you know, frame members, right? I just didn't want to deal with it. So this was like my, 10-minute solution, and there's been zero problems. When these things eventually die, I'll replace it with LED, but this is like, the day one installation, and it still works totally fine. And you can tell I'm not an electrician. Let's see. There's my wood stove. I originally had a smaller one, called a Dickinson Marine Multi-Fuel or something like that. This is a cubic mini grizzly. You can see underneath there, and sorry for the angles, since I only have one hand, I've got this on a tripod so I can set it down if I need to. And there's my wood underneath there, and there's some bricks, and this keeps me really, really warm. My upgrade, next thing I'm gonna do is to replace this pipe with double wall. And like I said, I wanna put LEDs up there. And this AC is starting to rattle, so I need to replace the blower disc or blower wheel in there. But yeah, when I bought it, one of the things I was happy about was that AC was relatively new. So it's going on 8 years, and it keeps me cool when it needs to. It's just getting noisy. So I'll show you like how I built it, right? Or why I built what I built. So this is like, I don't know, the 10th, 12th repair shop I've built. Pretty much, if you're a repairman, most places, you go, they've got a room, and they're like, okay, get it set up, and you build your own workbench and build it to how you want. And over time, I've learned what I want. And what I want is to sit here, have my tools be at arm's length. I want, when I'm sitting comfortably, I want my pegboard to literally be just out of reach. I want adjustable lighting over top. I want my torch here. I want the pliers I use most, screwdrivers I use most here. My tester mouthpieces. Most of the tools I use on a daily basis are right here, or turn around, and I've got almost all the rest of it. I mean, 90% of what I use on a daily basis is within arm's reach, but there's still plenty of room, right? I don't feel cramped. It's very easy to keep it organized, but the ergonomic situation I've got here is something I definitely created on purpose. The height of the bench, the depth of it, everything about where all this stuff is exactly what I wanted. I did have a little bit of a constraint where underneath here, there's nothing. It's just the wheel well, right? So I've got some more storage on that side. That behind here, just one screw, this is barely held on, and I can get to, I think there's some wiring down there too. The other wheel well is right here. Luckily, it's not close enough though that it really ever gets in the way. My leak light is down here on the left. I've also got my resonators and tone hole files and little lathe stuff. One thing that isn't here right now, it's actually inside because I'm recording this during the pandemic, and I've got young kids, so they're home a lot, and so I can't be out here and leaving my 6 and 8-year-old in the house by themselves. So I built myself a workbench in the house, and this goes in with me, a couple other tools, and I have a little tiny lathe, a lot like this one here, called a Unimat DB200. That's a TAG, but a Unimat DB200 that I use for a bench motor and other various operations if I want to. So, but my dent work and stuff is still out here, and I'll take you over that next. So this is my dent setup. Those are my dent tools, and some more dent tools there. So this is kind of like my dent area, right? And let's see if I can get this, so I can point things out to you. Yeah, so the base here is actually just something I found at a scrapyard. It's 1.25 inch thick steel, and it had a bunch of holes drilled around the perimeter, which is exactly what I needed. And I took giant fender washers and huge self-tapping screws, and most of those are screwed just through the floor and into the subfloor, but there's 2 or 3 of them that actually go down into the frame. And if you look at this thing, when I shake this camera's gonna shake because this doesn't move, but the entire Airstream will move. So this is like super durable. And again, it's been 8 years since I did this. So, because my son just turned 9 and I did it. So I guess it's been more than 8 years because I did it like a couple months after he was born. So this has not been a problem. And I really like the location. I've got good light for it. I've got decent overhead light. I can stand on this side. I can stand on this side, and my vice stand, if I don't get like an uppercut because this is spring loaded, you know, moves, right? So I can adjust this. I can adjust it height wise. I can adjust where it goes left, right, to fit whatever job I'm doing. So this is actually plenty of room, even when I've got bass saxophones. This is also where I polish. I built these benches. I didn't know too much about like building wood stuff back then, but I built all this stuff. This is like a secondary workbench, and like where, you know, I just kind of store stuff. That's the actual workbench that I use in the day-to-day. And that pegboard came off like the workbench that I have in my garage. Steel pegboard is the way to go, in my opinion. And then I've got these Acro Mills cabinets for my pads and small parts. And then these are actually from IKEA, and they're pretty great. I think they still sell them, like maybe 40 bucks a cabinet, and they're metal. I mean, it's like just folded metal, but they do a pretty good job. I built that like super simple thing for my Dent tools. You can see I got a couple of larger mandrels over here that don't fit. The magnetic set that like I sometimes use. Some more of that same pine I just made like a little shelf out of. And yeah, that's the basics of the shop. And that's the customer area. Haven't had too many customers in here. Well, no customers in here in the past year or so because of the pandemic. But typically that'll be where they sit, you know, play test, talk, drop their stuff off, and, you know, use that little coffee table I built to store stuff. And yeah, I guess that's about it as far as the general layout. The next few videos I'm going to do are going to be about the actual tools I use, and I'll walk you through that. And there'll probably be a couple videos for that because that'll take a little while. And also I'll do a general interest video on like what I've learned, like being inside an Airstream for 8 years for my workshop. So anyways, that is part 1 of the Airstream repair shop tour. Hopefully you found it helpful, useful, informative. If you have any specific questions, go ahead and put it down in the comments. I probably won't do the other videos for a day or two. So if you get questions in the comments, like right after this is published, I might actually get to them. Thanks for watching.